Something disgusting has happened here. At the German war cemetery of Saint Laurent-Blangy near Arras in France, thieves cut out and stole 22 bronze named plaques from the communal grave. 3 more were badly damaged, but they did not just steal metal, they stole names. This cemetery holds more than 31,000 German war dead from the First World War. 7,069 of those lie in individual graves, and another 24,870 lie in one massive communal grave. Those plaques carried the names so they would not be forgotten. Most of the men buried here came from the fighting around Arras and from the battlefields in the wider area, including places like Vimy Ridge. And yet, someone came to a place of mourning, tore those names away, and treated this cemetery like a scrapyard. This is what makes this so shameful. This was not just vandalism, it was theft of memory. The Volksbund is now raising donations to help replace the stolen plaques, and I'll leave that link below. And that is exactly why we have to keep telling stories like this, because once the names are gone, all that remains is a number. Now, let me continue with the story of this cemetery. Behind me are the graves of over 30,000 German soldiers who never made it home from the First World War. This is Saint Laurent-Blangy German War Cemetery. Let's take a look at the cemetery and see what we can learn from it. This cemetery was created by the French military authorities between 1921 and 1922 as a collective cemetery for the German soldiers killed on the southern Arras front during the First World War. It also became the burial place for many unknown dead recovered from the ground north and east of Arras. In 1926, the German War Graves Commission began improving the site. A stone wall was built around the communal grave, trees and hedges were planted, and a large wooden cross was placed here as a central memorial. After the Second World War, the cemetery changed again. In 1956, the German War Cemetery at Combes was closed, and the dead buried there were transferred here to Saint Laurent-Blangy. The cemetery reached its final form in 1972 when the old temporary wooden grave markers were replaced with metal crosses and name plaques seen here today. After the war had ended, a lot of the German soldiers that were buried in nearby battlefield cemeteries were then brought here and laid to rest here, so they could be a concentrated area where the German dead would find their final resting places. You have to imagine that many battlefield cemeteries were along the front lines, so the landscape would be scattered with several different war cemeteries. So after the war, and it's the story of a lot of German war cemeteries, especially with the larger numbers, they started consolidating all the graves and putting them in central locations. So many of the individuals who are buried here may not have originally been buried here. And the cemetery is also part of a wider landscape of war cemeteries between the French, the Germans, the British Commonwealth war graves, all within a short distance of each other. Men who fought each other in the war lay in rest nearby. If you take a look just across the field over there, you might be able to see the cross, what is indicating a Commonwealth cemetery. So not that far apart from each other are the two cemeteries, the British Commonwealth Cemetery and the German War Cemetery here. So during the First World War, you had around 100,000 German Jews who fought for Imperial Germany, and many of them also lost their lives giving it for their country. So if you're walking around the rows of these cemeteries, sometimes you'll see markers that don't look like the other ones. Like for here, as an example, we have the grave of Ludwig Seller, who was a German Jew, a Gefreiter, which is about the rank of corporal, who died on the 9th of August, 1917. So one thing that the German War Graves Commission has been doing is locating and identifying the German Jews who fought for Germany and are on these cemeteries. And if they don't have the correct religious marker, they replace the stone or give them their own stone so they can be properly identified and have a grave with the proper religious marker that is accustomed to their religion. So we were recently at the Kosovo German War Cemetery, and there is a German Jew who is laying in the comrade's grave. And the German War Graves Commission located and was able to properly identify that he's laying there. And through this ongoing project, they are now giving him the proper indicator of his faith on the comrade's grave as well. And that's a larger project that the German War Graves Commission is currently working on called Operation Levi to locate and identify many of these German Jews who are not having the proper religious markers so that fix can be made. And it's some of the important work that the German War Graves Commission is doing. And they're also responsible for maintaining cemeteries such as this one here to give the war dead a place to be remembered for relatives of the gentleman laying here can come and visit in a peaceful, respectful manner. Every time you come to a cemetery like this, you'll always see some kind of personal touch added to the individual graves. Sometimes family members who left extra piece or a picture or something to these headstones. And here we have another example of that. So this is the comrade's grave up here. And it looks like here we have several different crosses for some of the individuals who would be buried in the comrade's grave. So if we just take a look over here, we'll see one that says one for Josef Schultz. A nice hello from your home, or from your home. And it says where he fell. So he fell by Norul. And then here we have one for Paul Daniel Andreas Schultz. He fell on the 23rd of May, 1915. And then up here we have one that says missing but never forgotten, Joseph Fair, 1890 to 1918. And then here we have a cross as well with a picture on it of, I presume, the individual who is laying in the comrade's grave. There is text on it. It's a little hard to read, but it looks like 4th of June, 1915. So I assume that's when he was killed. And if we come here, it says here are resting 22,000 unknown German comrades from all parts of the German Empire, given from the province. Yeah, so basically all 22,000 Germans from all over the German Empire are laying in the comrade graves, which we see above right here. And here we have plaques indicating the individual peoples who are laying there. Unfortunately, not everybody respects the dead. Here in this German war cemetery, there's supposed to be plaques of the names of the individuals who are laying here in the comrade's grave. But as we can see here, those plaques are missing. That's because they were stolen, which is a really disgusting action if you consider this is somebody's grave. So the German War Graves Commission has started a donation campaign so we can replace these stones here and give the individuals who were on them, the proper respect that they deserve. Because as we look down here, for example, we see how it's supposed to look like with the plaques of the many names of the individuals, of the 22,000 individuals who are laying here in this comrade's grave. And Unfortunately, some people don't respect that, and yeah, I don't even know what to say. And since that I'm here with some members of the German War Graves Commission right now looking at the cemetery, I'm gonna let them say some words about the donation campaign that they're doing, that they're raising funds for these plaques right here.
Yeah, we're staying here at the Laurent-Blangy cemetery, and this is the site where a big theft happened a few weeks ago. At night, some people, some criminals were stealing these bronze plates that were installed on this communal grave. This communal grave is actually the biggest communal grave that the Volksbund has in cemetery. There are nearly 24,000 people buried behind me under this little lawn that you see. And the names of all the people buried right behind me under this huge square are remembered on these plaques. And yeah, they were stolen because of the bronze is seen as invaluable material and can be resold. And it's utterly disgusting. These things unfortunately happen very often all over Europe, on all our cemeteries.
It's disgusting to see that somebody would come here in the cover of darkness and destroy somebody's memorial on their grave just to sell it off somewhere. These men went through absolute hell during the First World War. The fighting that took place in this area just was impeccably disgusting, and I'm just shocked. I don't know what to say about it. I know that the German War Graves Commission is doing a fundraising campaign to replace the plaques, but they're trying to come up with a solution not to just put bronze plaques there again so they get stolen again. And it's kind of difficult for an organization like the German War Graves Commission to do something like that because they're mainly donation based. I'm going to go ahead and post the link to the fundraiser in the description. And if you're as appalled as I am that these graves have been stolen, then consider donating. So I'm unsure if it's actually 22,000 or 24,000. One sign says 22,000, the other says 24,000, but they're all laying here. And it's actually the largest communal grave site that the German War Graves Commission has at one of these cemeteries. So we can see the names of the plaques are on that pathway there, and all the bodies are buried in this field right here among the hill. And down the hill more are then the individuals buried with crosses above them and other stones. And then if you take a look back here on top of the hill, there's more graves. It's really hard to comprehend the amounts of people who are buried here. Like for each cross we see, it isn't one person, it's up to 4, because remember, they're double-sided. There's 2 names on the front and 2 names on the back. Over the course of the last week, I've had the opportunity to travel with the German War Graves Commission to several different war cemeteries around the area of the Battle of Verdun and as well as the Somme. And it was an incredibly interesting experience. One thing that I noticed is when you see these war graves and you see numbers like 30,000 plus, it's hard to comprehend. It's difficult to understand that. And when you're standing on top of a hill and you're overlooking crosses and you realize that not one cross is for one person, it's for multiple individuals, it's just hard to comprehend that. And then especially if you go to several different cemeteries over the course of a day, several days, it really shows the horrific human cost of war. When we read about it in our textbooks or watch a video about it and it talks about the number of casualties, we see a number, but it's just difficult to comprehend the actual reality of it. For example, at this cemetery that I'm at near Arras, this German war cemetery has over 30,000 war dead in it. And here just alone, that's 30,000 lives that ended abruptly, that had families or some loved one or friend at home that was waiting for them and was devastated by the loss. And this is just the German cemeteries. If you go around the area where Verdun is, or where the Battle of the Somme took place, you'll see countless French and British cemeteries as well, sometimes really close to one another, and close to the German cemeteries as well. Or if you go to the American war cemeteries, it's just the immense amount of lives that were lost and the destruction that was done to humanity during the conflict of the First World War. And then shortly after, the Second World War took place, and that also an immense amount of life lost. It's horrific. Coming to a cemetery like this, you really understand that the soldiers' graves are the best preachers of peace. That's a quote that I read at one of the cemeteries that I visited, and it really sticks with me, because when you see a place like this, how could you ever want to repeat the past? How could you ever want to fight in a war? So that brings us to an end of today's video here at the German war graves near the city of Arras. If you thought that this video added some educational or historical value, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue learning together. This video is part of my multi-part series covering several different war cemeteries in France. So if you're interested in learning about those places as well, check out the playlist. I'll put it in the description. Also, please consider donating for the fundraiser to replace the memorial plaques for the thousands of names on those plaques that were stolen here. And that wraps it up for this video. I thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you maybe in another video.